Welcome to Unspoken Truth, where we'll be uncovering life's journeys that make or break us, and those little things that bring us joy or the deepest, darkest secrets we've decided that we're taking to our grave. The pain and the judgments that we carry each day, and these are managed in all different forms of relationships, friendships, family, and society. Join me on this journey of unspoken truth and changing the narrative. This is from a woman who's just like you, a mother, a sister, a daughter, and God's child. And in everything else in between, I am still an individual, riding the waves of life. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth. In this episode, I'll be talking about how much has your childhood cost you. I'm the firstborn of many kids, those I know and those once mentioned in passing. My childhood cost me a lot. When people look on the outside, they would think my family has it together. I have both mother and father, but best believe it feels like I don't have either. It's like I was born to strangers. That's my sad reality. I can tell you stories of domestic violence and infidelity that I have witnessed in my life, and this is my life story. I was once told that issues parents have nothing to do with children. The fact of the matter is, the person you become is determined by the foundation that is laid in front of you. If that foundation isn't solid, it will have large cracks. I was introduced to hostile living conditions when I was very young. So many incidences I remember. I see my mother cry, fall, and stand up again. I have seen miscarriages caused due to stress levels. Bathtubs full of blood and agony in my mother's eyes. I saw things no children could ever see, no matter the circumstances. I grew up in so much resentment that cost me the willingness to forgive. My first impressions of any situation I find myself into. I see it as if people just wake up to hurt people, with zero care about how the next person will feel. People will always take until they are fulfilled in all ways possible. I've heard curse words thrown in the air, undermining the woman who had lost so much but still gave him children and tried giving him a family. I've heard words that made me question the importance of a married woman who's trying to be a good wife. I saw many women that came to destroy what was on solid ground that was already broken and filled with shame. These women didn't care. They took with no hesitations or questions. Others today with degrees when he could barely take care of us. Debts so high that I used to get kicked out of school. So many times in my life. Each month I lost months of school, and amazingly I passed through the pain and resentment. I recall back in my high school days, I would call my mother using the telephone booth, and all I could hear was the cry of my mother in distress with 2 young kids, my siblings, barely surviving with no food or electricity to go by. If the school didn't kick me out, I wouldn't have to face or be an additional problem to what she had to go through, at least one less mouth to worry about. Imagine a young woman in her 30s having to raise 3 children with a husband that goes months on end without knowing where or why. Did he even think of us when he turned comfortably in the bed he laid at night? Did the person next to him ever remind him that he had a family that needed him? I recall seeing my mother with wooden sticks trying to turn up the main switch at the power box that was put down by the landlord because electricity had not been paid and we were in the dark. She made plans to make sure we ate. No matter what she put together, we survived. We were the kids who stayed in apartments and townhouses and went to somewhat okay schools, but with nothing. I went through almost halfway into high school, sleeping on a mattress with no bed to call my own or privacy. There was no way I could bring my friends home. I was the girl who went to sleepovers at friends' homes seeking a little bit of peace, a little bit of silence without having to hear them argue, because arguments always turned into physical fights. Being away from home gave me the time to be sane and less time seeing my mother being a punching bag. My childhood cost me my peace. It cost me a relationship and bond with my siblings. All I knew is that when things went south, I had to make sure I could protect my siblings. And they also knew when all fails, dial 10-111. I was at boarding school more than I was at home. I believe I had it easy. I'm the oldest, meaning I saw more before they knew or understood anything. Staying at school didn't make it better. Knowing I had to act like a happy child at school and make sure I did well, and while internally dying because I knew the horror that was at home, the horror they lived with every day. My peers had more than I had: clothes, food, and pocket money. You could name it. I've never hid behind my shame. What I had was what I had. My friends never made me feel less. They were willing to share what they had. I was the girl who seemed to have her life together, but sadly, I was the girl dying inside, not wanting to show anyone the pain I carried in me. I was so consumed in hate and pain. At times, it started feeling like I deserved to feel the way I felt during my times at school, because of not only the pressure I put myself, but the stress that came with having to always catch up from lost months of not going to school because of overdue fees. My childhood cost me love. I don't know what the love of parents feels like. I don't know how it feels to be praised when you do well. I don't know how it feels to be hugged when life feels hard. I don't know how to cry and get embraced. I don't know how it feels to be told the 3-letter words, I love you. Our family is so broken that my parents play the game of favoritism so we can pick unnecessary fights. We were raised in a loud and noisy home. We don't have the skills of conflict resolutions. All we know is yell, fight. We should be better. We have to be better because we only have each other. Though it saddens me that we have high walls, we don't know how to break them. Others will call them sibling rivalry. I call it not knowing how to be better than our parents, not knowing how to silence their noise and creating a world that's better for us. I'm the firstborn, but I truly get lost on where to start. Not having a solid foundation, the cracks get bigger. Having African parents is the hardest because they will never understand how trauma can change the dynamics of life. Just not us as individuals, but as a whole. We are a broken family, and sometimes I wish we could go back to the start, the beginning, when they first met. Things would have been different if the beginning was tweaked a little. Hear me out, because this has crossed my mind plenty times. Since I'm the first child, if they decided not to keep me at the time they found out, would their life have been any different? Would my mother have dodged a bullet? Would she have been successful, or maybe found someone that loved her enough not to bring so much pain, shame, and embarrassment? She wouldn't have been beaten so many times for nothing. She wouldn't have scars. Maybe her life would be completely different. We all wouldn't have existed at all, because whatever life she chose for herself also became the life we had to endure every day. It cost us all. As I'm thinking about the details of many events, I can only share the feelings I had towards my childhood. There is one event I think I would like to share. It is when my father took out words that I questioned if I was really born of the family. Words. People underestimate the power of words. For me, it was the first words I heard coming out of my father's mouth. I was 20, trying to deal with the fact I decided to keep my baby. The words that came out of my father's mouth were, "Will you account to anything? You will die with nothing. When you had this child, were you being a whore?" Now, picture all these words in a native tongue, because these words were conveyed in our home language. Imagine the power of words coming from a man who's your father. Even if they came out because he was disappointed, it doesn't matter. Did he think before he opened his mouth? Did he even care? Fathers, do not provoke your children so they will not become disheartened. Colossians 3, verse 21. As I share these words, I get shivers down my spine because until today, I am trying to figure out where such words come from. I am a mother, and I know that no matter what my son does, I will never say words I cannot take back. Words that you throw in the universe because you saw the need to say them, with no care and no love, as if you have regrets to why you became a parent. My childhood cost me my sanity. What saddens me is the behaviors and episodes constantly having to go through the same things, and at times we prayed and hoped it would change with time. If my family was made a TV show, you would think it's scripted. My childhood cost me a lot. I have unnecessary anxiety, unnecessary stress, unnecessary resentment. In one of the therapy sessions I had, I was asked the question, why I give my father so much power? And my response was, because I am seeking a father. I am seeking a parent. I am seeking the things I think a parent should be and the things a parent should stand for. Through my journey of being part of a broken family, the one thing I appreciate now is the ability to heal, the ability to let go of hurt and learning to let go. And by letting go, knowing when to walk away from the things that do not bring you any joy. Walking away because you have so much more to live for. I am done looking for love where it doesn't exist. I am done coughing up dust in attempts to drink from dry wells. Maggie Young. Childhood trauma creates a foundation of who we will turn out to be, whether good or bad. At times, little traits and patterns will follow us like DNA. Though, let it not define your existence. Trauma is personal. It does not disappear if it is not validated. When it is ignored or invalidated, the silent screams continue internally, heard only by the one held captive. When someone enters the pain and hears the screams, healing can begin. Daniela Burnock. I would love to have further discussions on how much your childhood cost you. Send me messages. I'd like to hear your stories and the journeys you have taken to healing and to let go of the pain of seeking parents or father figures and unconditional love. Remember, some family we are born with, others you choose, so do not be disheartened. So until the next episode, please leave comments and leave messages. I'll be in touch to record these conversations for those who want to share. Follow me on Instagram and subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcast. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth. Until the next episode, remember to do what you gotta do so we can do what we wanna do. I thank you.
The Unspoken Truth is the catalyst for important and thought-provoking conversations that need to be had. The network tackles social ills, spiritual healing, soul-searching, and mental health awareness. To subscribe, click on the show link to follow our podcast and be part of the Unspoken Truth family. Find us on all social media platforms.